Jonathan, on the impeachment defense front, stonewalling works. If it didn't, we'd call it marshmallowing or something, but it works. It stops the clock in that matter up against a determined enemy. The problem is the poll numbers. For a White House interested in their domestic politics, the poll numbers are marching the other way while the clock is stopped.
First of all, the Battle of Bunker Hill, the Kurds weren't with us there either.
Unbelievable.
That comment, as Ashley pointed out, has raised a lot of eyebrows in the White House. We're not quite sure where it came from. But in terms of impeachment, there's a few things at play here. Yes, the White House, after spending 2+ weeks sort of scrambling for a response, they were caught off guard by the speed of this impeachment inquiry and seemed sort of off kilter, other than the president's rage on Twitter, that they decided to come up with this letter and to sort of announce that they're declaring war on the impeachment inquiry and indeed would stonewall, sort of reviving the playbook they've used in the past. The second half of the Mueller investigation and certainly every probe that the congressional Democrats have tried to launch since they took control of the House earlier this year. But by doing so, with this stonewalling, two things. As you point out, there's been a steady rise in polling. Americans supporting certainly the impeachment inquiry and others going further to say impeachment and maybe even removal. Those numbers are tracking upward.
Fox News poll now over the top.
That's exactly right. And the White House is keenly aware of those. I suspect we'll get the presidential tweet at any moment about how unfair that Fox News poll is. And by doing so, stonewalling this way, they've all but handed the Democrats another reason to carry out impeachment. This will be one of the articles now, this idea of obstructing the probe, of the obstruction of justice. And so this may backfire legally because very few experts believe there's any real legal weight to this letter. In fact, it cited cable news appearances as much as it does case law. But it also might backfire in the court of public opinion. And I don't know that we will see in the days ahead if it slows down the rise in the polling of those who want to see the president impeached.
And yet, Melanie, your reporting shows there are Republicans who still believe in total war, because as they see it, it has worked for them in the past.
That's exactly right. I mean, some of these members have had years of practice defending the president against the Mueller report, as we were talking about. And that strategy really worked for them. They were eager to race out onto the battlefield, protect the president at all costs. But what we're seeing differently here is they are far more reluctant to defend the president on substance. What you're not hearing right now is the GOP talking about his communications with foreign leaders. They are much more eager to focus on these sort of process concerns. They're talking about holding a vote on a formal inquiry. They're trying to slow down the process as much as possible. They're trying to muddy the waters, whether it's talking about the Biden family or it's going after this whistleblower. But they feel like they are on much shakier ground because a lot of these Republicans still do not feel comfortable with the fact that the president was asking foreign governments to dig up dirt on a political opponent. And even someone like Jim Jordan, one of his staunchest allies on Capitol Hill, could not answer the question whether that he felt like it was appropriate for him to do that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.